Yo, hit the go button on this way too quickly. So I'm just setting up the Instagram one and the recording version. Let's get it on. Welcome, you YouTubers. Welcome, YouTubers. Welcome, Instagrammers. Welcome, audio podcast listeners, to today's SitRep, which I wasn't going to do a SitRep today, or I was a bit unsure whether I was going to do one or not, but I've decided to jump on and do one because I've been watching many of the videos and the stuff that's coming out on Instagram at the moment. Obviously, the Americans are awake, I think, or it's late at night there. They're concerned. They're concerned about what's happening. There's a lot of videos coming out at the moment, or the circles that I sort of roll in being more prepper sort of circles. A lot of people pretty concerned about what's happening with the banking crisis or potential crisis that we're sitting on at the moment. And I've had my head in it all day, like literally all day, apart from the normal important things that I've got to do, like stare at my child for hours on end and laugh with her, eat, defecate, go for a walk, all that sort of stuff. Apart from those things, I've been keeping my eye on the stock market, and I sort of mentioned this yesterday. Like, obviously, Australia, well, I want to see what Australia is going to do because our market's open now Monday, even though there are some banking holidays going on right now. Our markets are still open. Our gold market is open. All that sort of stuff is up and running. And so I was really interested to see what happens and what happens with our banks as well. So I've been looking at some of the major banks in Australia, the big four in particular in Australia, plus one or two other smaller ones. Looking at our indices, looking at gold and silver price here and what's going on, and obviously keeping abreast of the news as best as possible. Alpha, g'day to you. It's 11:23 p.m. Central Time here. So we're looking at, like, here's the situation as it lies right now, guys, as far as I can see. US, especially US banks, are sweating right now. They are sweating the opening on Monday morning. The market is sweating the opening on the Monday morning. We're not sure what's going to happen. And I'll give you a little bit of the background of what we've seen thus far, but we're not going to know for another, let me think about this, 9.5 hours. Alpha says, I'm not sure where you are, but I'm thinking, actually, New York Stock Exchange, does that open at 9 or 10 a.m.? I know ours usually opens at 10. But yours might open at 9, so Eastern Seaboard time. I'm not sure what the time is there right now, but we're looking at about 8 to 10 hours at the moment until US goes live on this sort of stuff, and we can actually start to get some of the real fallout here. So here's what happened this morning. I woke up this morning. I've been looking at the indices. I've been looking at the news. SVP went down. Janet Yellen came out and said, we're not stepping in here. Fed is not backing up. We're not going to put any money in here. So that was a really interesting call. Bold call, I thought. And I think the market kind of reacted to, we had a few of the Australian markets go down, but our tech market bottomed out instantaneously on that news. It just went and just plummeted like 4.5%, 5% it might have hit, drop, which is a pretty big drop. The rest of the market's down about 0.5%. Nothing too extraordinary there, but maybe that's getting dragged down by those sorts of things. Crypto markets went down to start off with, and then something really interesting happened. Crypto turned around, and at one point today, Ethereum. I've only been tracking these sorts of things for, I don't know, maybe like 9 months, 12 months. That I've been tracking it longer than that, but like had my head really in the game when it comes to like, what are these things doing? Because this is a data point that I think is important for me to look at, i.e., is there going to be a financial crash? I need to know what crypto is doing. I need to know what precious metals are doing. I need to know what stock market's doing, blah, blah, blah. So Ethereum actually hit the second highest point that I'd seen in Aussie dollars. Aussie dollar was holding relatively strong at about 66 cents. It's been heaps stronger, but I thought it would have plummeted. It hasn't. Or I thought it would have shot through the roof if the US dollar plummeted, but neither of those two things happened. So it was an interesting time. So this morning I was watching crypto go up. Gold was up and stayed up and has throughout the day been trickling off, then had a little jump about an hour ago. Another bit of interesting news. KTRMT, thanks for all your content. You're muchly very welcome. Muchly welcome. You're very welcome for that. I'm doing this kind of stuff anyway for my interest, for my friends, for my personal buddies, for my mutual assistance group. I keep my eye on this so I can give warnings out if I thought something big was going to happen. And so to put it out a little bit further is not like, I think it's something that's probably worthwhile. It's a little resistance to me. I mean, there is a resistance. I don't love getting up and talking on the internet and showing my face and stuff, but that's what we do. Chris Fleming says, hey, mate, Alpha informs me that Eastern time is 1 hour ahead of me. So they'd be 12:23 right now. So, yeah, we're looking at under 8 hours. Under 9 hours until they go live. It seems like it's mainly banks dealing with tech. Bitcoin is being artificially propped up, in my opinion, says Alpha. And I'm not going to disagree with it. What we've seen, I'll get on to the next bit of news. So I'll stick with SVB for a second. So we saw Silvergate, a smaller banking sector company that has a lot to do with crypto, bang, fell over. And people were like, oh, okay, that's bad. Then we saw SVB, and people were like, whoa, that's really big. And so this is what's kicked off this whole thing, because a lot of tech was very, very much involved with SVP, Silicon Valley Bank. So you can imagine that's where tech lives. So a lot of tech was in there. So that's why we saw drop-offs in tech. And I think maybe we might see drop-offs in tech, like the NASDAQ will probably decrease when it opens. I would maybe imagine. The futures aren't telling us that yet, which is interesting, but that's off another piece of news that I'll get to in a sec. Anyway, crypto, yeah. So crypto, that went down. Okay, new bit of news comes out this morning. Another bank just went boom and disappeared. So regulators came in and closed. So this was a joint effort from state regulators and the federal regulators. The FDIC in the US came in and shut down Signature Bank out of New York this time. So we're dealing with the other side of the country. They said, look, this has got systemic risk in this bank here, so we're just preemptively shutting it down. What does that mean? What does Signature Bank do? Surprise, surprise, crypto. So again, one of these things where I was watching crypto and it sort of dropped off. It was on the back of this sort of news where they were like, whoa, crypto's quite leveraged here into these guys are quite leveraged in crypto. They're exposed to it. There's links there. Yep, crypto took a little bit of a freak out and then turned around and went up. And I think last I checked, Bitcoin was still traveling up. Ethereum went up and went down, and then it looked like it was doing a bounce when I last looked at it. So interesting stuff. Actually, I can have a look at these things right now. That's not that hard. I'll have a look at that sort of stuff in a sec and get onto it. What site was on? Look at my indices. Get your shit to organize before you start a live, guys. If you're going to start doing videos on the internet, get all your ducks in a row. Don't be like Gads and just like fly off the friggin' seat of your pants. Crypto, what are we looking at? Ethereum Bitcoin is up 4.5%, Ethereum is up 3%, Litecoin is up 6%, Ethereum Classic is up 8.9%, etc., etc. So we're seeing rises in crypto across the board. Very interesting, even though the crypto banks are being attacked. And if you listen to what I was talking about yesterday on my SitRep, which was tinfoil hat time, I was talking about how I've got a bit of a theory that maybe these banks are going under because they're being targeted, because no government that I could see would want crypto. That's not tinfoil hat. That's obvious. No government wants crypto because they can't control crypto. This is their way of controlling crypto. Right. So yeah, we're seeing that sort of action go on there. Right. Signature Bank went under. Like I said at the start, Janet Yellen came out and said, we're not pitching in for this. You're on your own. Well, 180-degree turn on that. Absolute turnaround on that, where they've basically said, yeah, we're going to bail them out. SVB, we are coming to bail you out. By the way, not using taxpayer money. So the Federal Reserve, yes, it's a private organization, but it's a government branch. It is in effect the government is going to use money to bail out a bank, but they said they're not going to use taxpayer money. Last time I checked, government doesn't make any fucking money. They take it from taxpayers. That's the only money they have. That's the only means they have. There is a caveat to this, obviously, being the Federal Reserve, who can make the shit up. Yes, that's how money actually comes into existence. The Federal Reserve goes, okay, money, magic, out it goes. The interesting thing then is that they give that to the government and they say, by the way, when you pay that back, we need interest on that. And the government goes, oh, okay, we'll give it to banks. By the way, when you give it back to us, that we need interest on that. And the banks go, oh, okay, we'll give it to ordinary, average working Joes. There you go. There's some money. By the way, when you give that back, it wants interest on it. And all that interest flows back up to the Federal Reserve. So in that way, yeah, they do make money. But in reality, the billions of dollars that they're looking at bailing out here, SVB, I can't see where that would even. Of course, that's going to come from taxpayer pockets. If it's not going to come, if the money that they're giving doesn't come from taxpayer pockets, as in they took the money from taxpayers and giving it, then here's how it's going to come from us. It's the flow-on effect of that, because that will 100% increase inflation in many different ways. There are many different factors going in there, but I can guarantee that's going to increase inflation. And inflation is another form of tax. It's just a really subtle form of tax. So, yeah, this is coming out of our pockets. This whole thing is coming out of our pockets. By the way, who forced them to shut down? Government did. FDIC. Yeah, so that's the situation. As soon as they came out and said that, that's where we saw the bounce in the market. So the Aussie tech sector, which was tanking, I said it was down 4.5-ish% earlier this morning. It is now back up over the other indices. So it's over the ASX now. Surprise, surprise. This is the kind of euphoric hype that if you watch the stock market, and you watch history, in fact, history is probably a better teacher of this. You always look for these euphoric feelings and spikes within markets when people are solely investing money off hearsay, innuendo, and rumor. This is a troubling sign. This is a really bad sign. And that's exactly what's happening. The market is so fever pitched at the moment. They are just looking like a crack addict, looking for a good time. All they want is good news. So everyone was waking up with a hangover this morning. Everyone's going like, shit, things are getting bad. Things are getting real bad. And then basically the Federal Reserve has come out and just poured lines of Coke all over the mirrored table and gone, snort away. And everyone's like, yeah. Bankers are like, yes, we're going to make more money. Everything's great. Everything's fine. And that's pretty much what I'm seeing in mainstream media as well. We're being bailed out. Government's got our back. Thank God for that. This is all like, if you're one of those conspiracy theorists who think that the government's trying to push us into a central bank digital currency and take further control of our lives, I'm one of those people. This is what it starts to look like. This is what it would look like, I should say. Just catch up on some of these comments here. Alpha says, it seems like it's mainly banks dealing with the tech. Sorry, I've already read that one. I appreciate your report. Thank you very much for that. There was another one just a few hours ago. So there is three now. Yeah, that's the Signature Bank that's gone under in New York. It's suspicious because gold and silver are going up too. And normally those three don't go up together. So yes and no. Gold, what happens, and I said this yesterday, that gold generally goes up when there's fear in the market. So when people are less exuberant and more fearful, they'll shift their money and they go, I need to protect money because gold is a store of wealth. It's a classic store of wealth, always has been. So they go, okay, yeah, I want to hold on to this cash. I don't want to lose it in a market that's going up and down, and I could make bank or I could lose it all. So I'll put it into gold for a little bit. It's solid there. And then once this starts to get more even, I move it back out. So we see then when it gets shifted into gold price goes up. So yeah, you don't generally see markets shooting up, all sectors of market shooting up, and gold shooting up, and crypto shooting up. Now, crypto is a different beast altogether. People have been trying to frame in people's minds that crypto is like gold and silver, in that it is either inversely linked to the markets or it is not linked to the markets. And yes and no. At times it seems not linked to the markets. In other times it seems in lockstep with the markets. But yeah, what we're seeing today is, I think, well, what it looks like to me from an outsider looking in is like clutching at straws. The financial market right now is just going like, shit, where do we put our money? What are we doing? What's going on? Because like I said, in 9 hours time, the US market's going to open and there's going to be some interesting fallout from that. What I think most likely course of action from here is something like this. People want things to go all right so much that they believe that the federal government, the Federal Reserve, what they're saying, they're going to bail out SVB. And so they go, yep, everything's fine. Everything's cool. We're going to have some companies go down, but everything's going to be cool. Everyone's going to get paid out from SVB. Everything's cool. Let's keep going. But all that's doing is glossing over this horrible, horrible wound that we've put in the market until it gets exposed later. And that later could be 3 days or a week. It could be 3 months. It could be 3 years. But eventually, we're going to feel the fallout from this. Banks like SVB, Signature Bank, even though they're not the largest in the world, they do have an effect. And I'll get to their effects in a second. Yeah, Alpha says they might just mint that $1 trillion coin. Yeah, that was actually a plan that they had. Like, that's a legit plan that the US government has to mint a $1 trillion coin. It's so asinine. It works only if you believe in all the rules and all the shit that they're doing, the fiat currency that we currently work with. But it's such a crazy idea. Alpha also says, yep, it's not looking good. A bank holiday is real possible until they fix it. And yes, we will feel it in time. Like, this is something they could do. They could just go like, whoa, things are too hectic. Pause. Nobody open the shop. This happens. This does happen. It not super regularly, but it has happened in the past. The last big one that happened was Russia just shut down its entire stock market at the start of the war for like a month or two, until things settled within their own country, until they were selling things again. They were like, and now we'll open it again. So, you know, that's a possibility that they could do as well, is just shut it all down for now. Yes, so like I said, the US came out, or the government came out, that being FDIC, the insurance corporation. That company, by the way, the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, or I'm pretty sure it's corporation. I could be totally wrong on that. But the deposit insurance is the important part here, and the federal, I guess, because that's where they are. They insure deposits in banks. So if a bank goes under, they insure for it. They pay for it. However, they came out originally when the SVB went down, and they said, yes, we do insure deposits up to $250,000. So if you or me had our money in there, I'm assuming you probably don't have more than $250,000. If you did, you probably got better things to do with your time than listen to me. But they'll say, yeah, we'll do that. The problem with SVB was that the average deposit in there was something about 2.2 or 2.5 million. And they had people who had billions of dollars in there. A few huge companies had billions of dollars in there, including crypto companies, including telecommunication companies. So you can see now the fallout is a little bit bigger. And basically the government said, we're not touching that. You guys have lost your money. Sorry. So now they've come out and they've said, yeah, we are going to make sure that everybody gets paid. There is a huge amount of money. There's billions of dollars that are about to go back out to these people. What they're trying to do is stop the bleed. essentially. No, they're not trying to stop the bleed. What they're trying to do is stop the zombie. Because right now, SVB is turned. It has turned into a zombie, and it's going to start biting all the things that are close to it, all these other companies that are involved in it, and banks that have some sort of exposure to it as well, or similar situations to SVB. They don't even have to be exposed to SVB. They just have to be similar situations, because other people will go like, wait, my bank's a bit like that. Shit, I need money. And this is where it all happens. When too many people go, oh shit, the bank's going down, I better get my money out. If everyone just went, hey guys, let's all just leave our money in there, then the bank could theoretically keep doing it because they never have to actually pay out the money. But the problem is, when people do a run on the bank and do it en masse, then the bank has to pay them, and they go, oh, we don't actually have that money. I'm sorry, because they don't have to have that money. So yeah, what the government is trying to do here is stop the contagion, essentially. That's what everyone is really worried about. That's what we're all looking for at the moment, is this contagion that could spread out to other banks, and could wipe out small banks, maybe medium-sized banks, or definitely medium-sized banks. I don't really think it could wipe out big banks, but it's not beyond the realm of possibility. Or I don't think it will wipe out big banks, because big banks are set up in different ways. A bank like SVB is niche in its offering. So it sort of goes, we do this with tech sector, and then tech sector tanks, and it's like, well, we've diversified in this, but this was also doing shitty. And so then they're like, oh, we're fucked. Whereas a big bank's like, well, we got this, and we got this, and we got this, and we got this, and we got this. Oh, that one just tanked? That's okay. We've also got this here. But yeah, obviously the government doesn't want it to spread, because then the whole show would get exposed. Essentially, the way I look at what the government is doing right now is they are kind of they're the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain, and SVB is falling over and pulling the curtain, and they're going, "Do not look at the man behind the curtain," and they're trying to desperately drag the curtain back across us, so you don't see the rot that is within the banking system right now, and how it's all about to fall apart. UK Chancellor has just come out and said there's a serious risk to British science and technology sector after the collapse of SVB. So we can see it spreading around to other countries. Canada's already exposed. China, Argentina. We think there's a couple other countries that said, yo, they've been exposed. So to this, not just to the bank, because SVB had branches in other locations as well. So obviously they're being affected, but also investments into that bank or deposits into that bank. James says, "Yo, bro, hit the like button, peeps. Thanks, man. That's my bro, my homie." So yeah, that's what we're seeing. Like I said, what's this story? Oh yeah, Janet Yellen came out and ruled out a bailout of SVB, and now they've totally capitulated on that. So that in itself is a signal, when they can't even make up their own mind. And it's not like they went, oh yeah, no, we're actually going to go this path, not this path. They went from here 180, like did a full turnabout. Like the egg on their face is so thick right now. It's unbelievable. The fact that they came out and said, no way, no bailouts, not going to happen. And then essentially, like within our, yes, bailouts, 100%. We're going to make sure that they do not collapse. Everything's going to be fine. And again, this is everything's fine. Don't look behind the curtain. Everything's cool. So one of the crypto coins that was exposed to this bank was the USDC stable coin. So this is a coin that is linked to the US dollar, and it stays at, surprisingly, $1 and always has until today, where it collapsed. Mm-hmm. So it delinked from the dollar, which is a pretty friggin' big deal. It's gone back up now, but just seeing that because people, their faith was rocked in it because they went, whoa, these guys are heavily invested there. They've got a lot of deposits within that bank. That's pretty bad. Yet, no, we're not into it. So again, it's another gut punch to crypto as a whole that's actually happened there. And again, more fallout that's happening from this one. So that's basically where we're standing at the moment. Like I said, I've been watching the Australian markets today. I didn't think anything major would happen, but I was keeping an eye on it. There was one point there where I was watching all Australian major banks decrease in value, but it wasn't like they were going down for the day, but it wasn't down lower than like where they have been in the last 2 years. But I was waiting for that slide to happen, looking for that slide. It hasn't happened yet, but like I said, American banks haven't opened yet. American markets haven't opened yet. We're going to have to wait and see what's going to happen here when those do open. Unfortunately, that's going to be really early in the morning, my time. So I don't know. Maybe, I usually get up at about 3 or 4 a.m. anyway. So when I get up, then I'll keep an eye on it. So if you wake up in the morning and my Instagram is plastered with "get to the bank, get to the chopper" memes, maybe think about going and getting some money out, but maybe think about going and doing that anyway. Again, not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor in any way, shape, or form. That should be painfully obvious to you listening to me that I don't have the best grasp of economic knowledge, but as part of being a prepper, I think it is worthwhile just keeping an eye on these sorts of things. As part of being a prepper as well, contingency planning, having extra cash on hand in case you can't get cash, and that's what could potentially happen. And I'm talking. I said this before. Most likely course of action, most dangerous course of action, or worst case scenario is that we do start to see bank after bank collapse or get shaky. That's all they need to do is get shaky, and your average sheeple, the NPCs, your non-prepared human beings, I shouldn't pick on them, but your non-preparedness-minded human beings catch wind of this, and they will rush wholesale to ATMs and start pulling money out. They will go crazy for it. So once that happens, it's too late. It's done. I would recommend to you, like, it's not necessarily a bad idea to have extra cash on hand as long as you can secure it, as long as you can afford it as well. But as always, a better investment than cash, than money, better investment than money in the bank is either offsetting that against something or using that for tangible resources. And actual assets, physical assets. So think about that. Put it towards land if you can. Maybe buy a little bit of extra food. If you're into your pew sticks and your boom sticks, then maybe ammunition might be something that you want to be purchasing a bit more now. Peter Rouse just said buy ammo. Preempted. Peter Rouse also says, try taking 50K cash out. What a nightmare right now. Last time was no issue. Yep. I wouldn't even try for that much right now. I mean, if you want to and you have to, go do it. But just pull out whatever cash you can. Just as a general guide, by the way, on a normal average working day, what I generally have in myself and my partner's vehicle is some cash. It's like, $200, $400, maybe $1,000 or something like that, depending on what I'm doing, how I'm operating, what the safety is, how I can secure it. But generally a couple of $100 hidden away in the car, and that's fuel money. And that might be one tank in an emergency. All right. In an emergency, ATMs might not work. And I've seen that happen before. In an emergency, fuel might be just market price. And right now, market price is $20 a litre. So $200 now isn't going to get you a whole lot, but it's going to get you more than old mate here who doesn't have any cash on them at all. So think about that. Renee C says, went shopping and got cash out today. Awesome. Great to hear. Wells Fargo had a system issue. I did see something about this all weekend where money has disappeared off balances. There's a pretty funny meme that I saw on the Instagrams today. Someone put up, and it was just an ATM machine that said all banks in America on Monday, and it was just a face like, that's it. Sorry? No money? Couldn't think of anything worse than this, and I've seen this sort of stuff happen. Like Lebanon's a great example. It's happened in the last 3 years there. Alpha says many ATMs here have been cleaned out of cash already. So, yeah, this is what I'm saying. Australians, I haven't seen any behavior like this yet, but this is definitely something come Tuesday. I think pretty big warning, because that's going to be Monday, America time. And that's really where things are going to get tested. So I'm going to continue monitoring this anyway. I'm going to continue trying to stay abreast of the situation, what's happening in the markets and stuff like that. I'll try and get another update out. If anything big is happening, I will get on and do a little rant. I don't want to scare anyone. I'm not here to freak people out. I'm just saying that there is this possibility that we could slide into some sort of financial crisis right now. So thinking about that, preparedness-minded people, what we want to try and do is convert fear into confidence, and we want to be sitting in a place where we can act from a place of confidence, from a place of I am okay, rather than from a place of fear, because that is a shitty place to make decisions from. That's what it's all about. So if going and grabbing $200, if going and grabbing $2,000, if going and grabbing 20 grand, whatever it looks like for you out of the ATM, go and grabbing $20 if that's all you can afford. Just having something on you. If that helps do that for you, then I recommend that you go do that. But apart from that, you spend your hard-earned dollaroos however the fuck you want. I'm not going to tell you to go and buy cool knives, even though that's what I'm looking at right now. Yeah, a couple little things that I've been thinking about, I need to pay for this, I need to do that, I'll get these things sorted first. No, not this week, not this week, not this week. And now I'm like, maybe this week is the week that I spend that money. I don't know how much that item's going to be in 48 hours time. But yeah, hey, the world hasn't ended yet. Food is still the same price as it was basically yesterday, and it's still abundant in Australian supermarkets and New Zealand supermarkets as well. That's usually the audience that I'm talking to. I know there's a few of you out there from the US. There's still food on your shelves there as well. So we have time, we have space. I'm not here to freak anyone out. Global financial system is not collapsing right now. We could be seeing signs of a financial crisis. We could be seeing signs of a banking collapse. I have not seen evidence of it right now, but this is your warning. Take it as such. Renee C says Biden's going to make an announcement tomorrow. I just want to say to everyone in the United States and the banking system, $5. Ah. Sorry, that was a shitty Joe Biden impersonation. I'm not sure where that came from, but I just can't understand anything the dude says. So that's what I get out of him. Peter Rouse says New Zealand is actually getting less food on the shelves again. And so is Australia. I was talking about this, that the collapse of Scott and one other food chain supply company will impact our supermarket shelves. One thing I always encourage is that you should try to buy locally. You should try to encourage people around you to grow food, to raise livestock, slaughter, butcher livestock, and sell it to you. You can do that by paying them dollaroos, and it incentivizes them to do it again or do it yourself as well. Renee C says, turn left, shake invisible person's hand. Alpha says, don't worry, I can't understand him either. Yeah. I mean, at least he's like there. The Australian Prime Minister, I'm pretty sure his policy is, if nobody sees you, then they'll think you're doing fine because the guy is non-existent. He does stuff. He does do stuff. He does press conferences and stuff, but it's just he's like, I don't know. If he stood next to a beige wall, I probably wouldn't. He'd be perfectly camouflaged. Like, Albert, are you there, man? Where did he go? All right, that's it for today, gang. Like I said, not really a full SitRep. I just want to jump on and have a chat about this situation that we're looking at the moment with the banks. It's still up in the air. There are no signs from the Australian markets today that there is any huge collapse. There were some data points and some things that were happening that I go, this could be indicating something. The main indicator I saw, though, was that the market is reacting to news from the Federal Reserve and from the FDIC that they're going to pitch in and bail out SVB. But don't be fooled by that. It's a friggin' Band-Aid. It is a Band-Aid on a arterial bleed that's happening right now. 'Tis but a flesh wound. Thanks, Alpha, sorry. He says, great show. Thumbs up. All right, gang. As always, stay safe out there. Keep your eyes open. I will try and get another one out tomorrow, maybe even early in the morning when the US markets open. Prepare yourselves in the best way that you can. And until next time, thank you very much for joining me, and Semper Paratus.